As we slowly see temperatures rise, UV index and sun exposure becomes more likely. Here to talk about sun safety and what people can do to protect themselves throughout the year is Dr. Nicola Mercer, Medical Officer of Health for Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health. Hello, Dr. Mercer. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, and thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk about the basics. We often hear the term UV index. Can you help explain what that is?
Yes, it actually stands for ultraviolet, and really it's an indicator of how strong the sun's rays are, the ones that you can't see, and how are they impacting your skin. And so a very low UV index means that those rays are weaker, but not zero by any chance. And a very high index, usually they'll indicate it as 11 plus, means that those rays are very strong and that you can burn because those rays are penetrating your skin at a much greater rate. So it is an important thing to listen to when they talk about the UV index. But honestly, it's actually something that you should also not pay attention to, in the sense that you should always assume that sun's rays are there and they're going to damage your skin. So as we are now in melanoma month, which is the month of May, skin cancer is the #1 cause of cancer in Canada. And 1/3 of all cancers that we get are from sun exposure, from the skin cancer. So it really is something to say that the rays that we get from the sun, UV, whether they're very weak or very strong, we should try to avoid them as best we can.
Now, you basically just answered that question, but let's talk about it a little bit more in depth. Should people be actively trying to protect themselves regardless of whether the daily UV index is high or low? And on lower days, what should they be doing?
Yeah, this is a really interesting question. So I think that people think of sun damage as being sunburn, but what they don't realize is sun tanning, whether it's by natural rays of the sun or by a tanning bed, also means skin damage. So for many people, their first thoughts are, aging, I don't want wrinkles. So you would definitely want to avoid sun damage, which is tanning. And obviously also the more sun damage you get into the layers of your skin, the more likely you are to develop over time a skin cancer. So what would I do? What do I actually do is I wear sunscreen every single day of the year. It doesn't matter whether it's a sunny day or a not so sunny day. The UV rays, the sun's rays are still coming through, except if you're in the night. So if you find a sunscreen that you like, and just keep trying until you find one that works for you and your family and your children, then you should wear it on a regular basis. That is the best way. Also consider physical ways of blocking out the sun, and by that I mean wear a hat, whether you're outdoors, whatever you're doing, whether it's golfing or gardening or walking, wear a hat that protects your face. You can wear clothing, loose clothing that protects your arms and your legs. It's also good for protecting you from those ticks, which are out at this time of year. And of course, if you're able to sit in a shaded area rather than out in the full sun, these are just really practical things that you can do to prevent yourself and to prevent your family, especially young children, from getting overexposure and UV damage caused by the sun.
Now, of course, many people do take precautions, but if you are exposed to the sun and experience symptoms such as a sunburn, sun or heat stroke, what should you do?
Well, there are various levels of what could happen to you. So when you are exposed to the sun and you get a sunburn, there's different layers that can be developed. I think almost everybody that's listening has had a sunburn at some point in their life. And we know that sometimes they just hurt and sometimes they blister. So when you see those blisters, that is actually a really bad sign that the layers of damage to the sun have actually increased. But what we mostly worry about is heat stroke. Doesn't seem like it very likely now with the temperatures that we're getting, but you can actually get quite ill from having your body overheated by being in the sun. So the sun's rays are bad for burning you, but they can also maybe bake you, I would say, is they can raise your temperature internally. And although most adults can, do well, they can move themselves out of the sun, they can, go to a cooler spot, they can drink more liquids. When we're talking about children, especially young children and seniors who can't do that themselves, that's when we really have to take care to be protective for them.
Very important information indeed. Thank you so much, Dr. Mercer, and I hope you have a fun, safe, and warm summer ahead.
Me too.